Good afternoon, folks. I'd like to start beginning our conversation today in regards to HelloTeam. Any questions you have at the very end, we'll be providing our contact information so that this way you can email us in specifically anything relating to HelloTeam and in regards to the ROI that we deliver for both public and private companies when it comes to our employee engagement platform. So let us begin our conversation today. To introduce the folks that are going to be on the call and they're going to be doing the demo, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Colin Peterson, who is on the client side of the house, and myself, Peter Padavano, who I am the head of sales here at HelloTeam. So the reason why HelloTeam is adding value to a lot of clients today, and that includes public and private companies, is that we're helping companies in all different various forms of employee engagement. Everything from communication and collaboration, which includes some sort of peer recognition, creating cultures and surveys, getting a pulse of one's employees, providing some sort of peer recognition, everything from kudos or what we call high fives, to that of even including badges, so that this way people feel that they're doing a good job and performing at their top peak, to that of conducting goals and tracking performance, to that of even giving analytics to various executives and staff members so that they can build out their businesses more successfully. The value here is that we've been around for about 3.5 years. Average client size is approximately 200 employees that are in growth mode, but we've been able to service clients of all different variations and sizes depending on their specific needs. So when you go through the demo today, folks, realize that it's not one size fits all. Some companies may come to us for collaboration and communication. Other companies may look at us for ways of tracking goals and tracking performance. And again, at the conclusion of our discussion today, feel free to contact myself in regards to any questions you may have, or if you want to further dive in terms of the capabilities that HelloTeam presents to clients today. So again, folks, to start off with, HelloTeam is this is the actual platform itself that employers are using today. Obviously, it's hosted by HelloTeam. Companies' logos will be on the top left-hand side. The value to the very initial page of the site is that a lot of clients compare this to that of a social intranet or a way of connecting like LinkedIn for internal staff. So everything from employees' communications in terms of what's going on with the employees, who's being hired, birth dates, anniversaries, who's on the move in terms of moving up within the organization. For example, we just dealt with a client today that is in growth mode and hiring new hires, and they don't have no way of knowing where to find those people or how to communicate to those people. There'll be tools available in order to communicate or contact those individuals within the company and even give them sort of recognition, acknowledging that they've just been onboarded onto the company. What the value there is, folks, is really allowing employees to feel like it's not just about collecting a paycheck or getting benefits. It's about collaboration and building a unified culture.
And this also does a great job in allowing people to kind of put a face to the name. Because a lot of times, you're working in a big company, you may have recognized specific names, but you don't actually know what these people look like. So when we're passing them in the hallways, you may notice that these are specific people, and now you're able to see, wow, it's their birthday, and you're able to kind of have that dialogue and improve communication across the entire company.
Yep. To go one step further, in the middle of the screen, you can see what's called high fives. That's a form of peer-to-peer recognition. Some companies call it high fives. Some companies that we've talked to in the recent past that have become clients, they call it stories, whereby you're able to actually brand this whatever you prefer. But the value here is your colleagues can write a comment about why they found someone going above and beyond in terms of the organization. They're able to select an individual staff member, which they can assign the peer-to-peer recognition that we call high fives here at HelloTeam. But you can see that it cascades for 2 weeks in terms of saying to someone, hey, great job in terms of coordinating this webinar today. There's value to be said when it comes to giving some sort of peer recognition because, again, it's about building collaboration and making people feel appreciated within the company. The other additional value is that a person will receive an email from the person that is providing that peer recognition. And if you use Slack, we integrate with Slack. So they'll also get a communication about someone giving them some sort of recognition through Slack as well. When I look at the right-hand side of the page, things like useful links, a lot of clients that we talk to, a lot of the HR folks are burdened with staff members. I don't want to use the word burden so much, but a lot of times new hires, they want to find out where their pay stubs are. They want to see what their benefits information is. Or even like, let me see some sort of training guides or employee handbooks. So to me, from an HR perspective and an administrative viewpoint, I'm able to add useful links to this website so that you could drive your employees to find personal information that relates to them on this central page. When it comes to newsworthy events, as well as events in general, companies' administrators appreciate this too because it's allowing employees to know what's going on within the growth of the company. We just dealt with a government contractor today that they feel like a lot of their employees in different locations feel like they're on an island. They don't really know what government contracts they're winning. They don't know about the growth of the expansion of the company. What the added value here is, you're able to create a newsworthy event, title, put in pictures, publish whenever the frequency that you want, and then it's allowing employees to really understand what's going on, and it provides a historical chronologue under the news section about what newsworthy events were communicated or cascaded to your entire population or to a segment of the population, meaning you could determine departments that you want to provide that communication to, or you can give it based on location as well.
And that really works for a lot of our larger clients where, for some examples, you don't want to be sending out news letter information across the entire company where this may be a 4,000, 6,000 person organization. You're now kind of able to, whether it be just managers get the information or just, for example, HR and finance. It really is a pretty agile system when it comes to who needs the information and how to get it to them best.
Yeah. So, and then the final thing on the very bottom, you can see performance reviews and open surveys that we'll go into a little bit deeper dive as we go through those sections. But again, you're able to use the tool in order to track performance, see how people are achieving their goals, do a full 360 to see what their peers think of them, and conduct surveys at will as at whatever frequency you determine in terms of getting a pulse of the organization as a whole. And we'll go into a deeper dive in regards to that. One last thing I want to show before we move on from the central page is something that a lot of clients are appreciating and finding useful is a suggestion box, which is virtual. You can have anonymous suggestions, or you can give feedback in terms of constructive feedback. I always use this as a tool of a way of communicating of things like silly, stupid stuff that really builds on culture. Like we have one client right now that wanted Dunkin' Donuts in the break room, and one of their staff members sent an anonymous note to the administrator of the site to advise the administrator that that's something that would promote, you know, some sort of like appreciation in terms of culture building. So the other aspect that I always tell folks is getting to know your employees. And that drives the idea of getting to know people's skills, getting to know people's personalities, getting to know their interests, their aspirations of growth in terms of their personal as well as their career. And under my profile, you could see that I'm getting a summation of an employee. Basically everything from when they were hired, what their tenure is. If they want to include their date of birth, they can include that there. It allows me to see where they are in terms of the org chart, how to contact those individuals, as well as different variations of social links. On the right-hand side, you can see this is another form of appreciation whereby you can assign badges, not just provide high fives, but this is a badge that you can name whatever you want. In terms of, we use Rockstar or Cultural Ambassador. I know my CEO appreciated that. I closed a massive deal last quarter, and she gave me the Chief Closer Award. But again, the value here is it's other forms of appreciation and tying, you know, the culture in terms of a unified culture. But it allows supervisors, staff members in different locations, or even someone next to you to get an understanding of what people's skill sets are, what their interests are in terms of personal hobbies, but it also gives like a CV or a resume in terms of their work experience, their education, how many times they've been provided acknowledgement by other staff members. It also provides some sort of tracking of goals, as well as what I mentioned before, positions that they're interested in. I always highlight that because if you're going to be using our tools for goals, wouldn't a person on the end of this call want to know if those corporate goals are tied into the personal goals of one's employees? And that's how you really retain top talent, by aligning the company vision to what people's vision and aspirations are in terms of career path. Because at the end of the day, people stay because of the culture, not just because they're collecting a paycheck or benefits. They want to really know that they're doing something that adds value to one's company, but more importantly, that they're going to be able to grow and expand in terms of their skill sets themselves, and that they could achieve specific goals in terms of their personal aspirations. And then things like skills they like to have that you can help in terms of development and coaching, to that of trainings and conferences they like to attend, are all outlined under the profile.
And this is really where you kind of are able to give people some form of actual reward without it necessarily always needing the budget to go back for any raises. So for instance, if you see that a top performer has been going year after year ahead of everybody else, you could go down and see, oh, maybe they are, up for a promotion, or, maybe we can send them to a conference or a training that they've been looking to have for a certain period of time. Because that's really the rewards that ultimately they are looking for. It's not just, the monetary, I want to make X amount of dollars. It's that they wanted to see that their employer is engaged with them and seeing where they want to go to progress, not only in their career, but also for their individual growth in their individual learning.
And then finally, look, if you want to be, I know I go to office and sometimes I need to print out someone's profile. You're able to generate a profile, print it off with or without the picture, so that this way I can have that in my attaché, so that when I go to see a person or I have a one-on-one, I get a really understanding of what those aspirations and skills that they bring to the table. But again, you can see that we also have the reviews, the goals that that individual has, and documents relating to that employee could be all housed here under that person's profile. To go one step further, as we mentioned before, under the profile, when a person puts in their skill sets, it directly correlates that the skills match. So if you're looking to find someone with a specific skill for a specific project or to be assigned to a team, I'm able to pull up certain skills based on the attributes that are found on someone's profile. So for example, account management. I want to know how many people have account management under their background. Maybe I want to see it based on specific locations, based on different departments or specific areas that they're focusing on. And I'm able to pull up those people based on those locations. What's the value here, folks, is really that if I have specific projects that are time sensitive, and I don't know who may speak Spanish or have account management in their skill sets or background, then I'm able to pull that just by pulling it under the skills match. And then the next thing that I would add on as added value in terms of getting to know your employees, we automatically create an org chart for one's employees. So it's a cascadable org chart that's interactive. So you're able to pull down who direct reports are in the organization, things like how do I contact a person in terms of the company. And if you click on more details, I'm able to see their personal profile as well. It's a drag and drop methodology whereby I'm able to really get I'm able to pull people to different departments if they have a move to a different department and move an entire staff team to a different direct report as well. So for example, if I click on more details, I can see the summation of someone's skill sets. To go one step further in terms of the org chart, I can also pull up someone based on just searching on the top left, whereby I can pull it up and then be able to pull up best information in terms of how to contact her as well.
And this is also pretty important for when, there could be new hires that are coming on board with a company that's in a particularly strong growth mode. And we see a lot of times that people don't really know where they are in the company or even where their leader is in the company. So by giving access to the org chart to kind of everybody actually in the company, lets people know who they're working with. They can go to their profiles, learn a little bit more in that early phase. And even late phase for people to be able to kind of quickly see who reports under me and not only that, but who reports them. So it kind of gives you that whole summation of your team and kind of who you're actually working with.
Yep. So that helps a lot of different regards, in regards to getting to know your employees and also the communication component of HelloTeam. To get more tactical in terms of like goals and tracking goals, that's the next step, and that's the next added value or ROI that a lot of our clients are appreciating. So when it comes to goals, you can see that we're able to set up goals whereby it's company goals, department goals, and personal goals. And you're able to align goals to the different department heads, and those supervisors can align it to the different staff members that directly report to them. The value to me in terms of the goals itself is it's a weighted goal average. So we're able to set up a personal goal, enter the title of the goal, align it to a specific competency or goal that's relating to the department that gets cascaded up to the company goals. It's a cascadable event whereby I'm saying what the value is of that goal. Give me an understanding of why that goal is relevant in achieving that goal so that it impacts the department and the company. And then you can assign it to that individual that task or requirement is assigned to so that they can understand in order for you to do your job well, this is the goal that you need to achieve.
And this is pretty great in terms of the flexibility for wherever you are in your organization's life cycle. Whether or not you're in a position to be thinking, how I'm going to cascade from company goals to department goals to personal goals. There may be some of you out there that right now you're not tracking goals at all. So this is kind of a good place to jump in where maybe let's just do personal goals that aren't really tied to anything or aligned to anything. Because really it's always just a stepping stone. How can we get one step further than where we are today? And this kind of has that ability to grow into a kind of more robust system where you start out maybe with just personal goals and then you can tie directly to company goals. So it kind of definitely gives you that ability to grow into the system.
So again, what I would see as a value is it gives some sort of accountability to the employees. We had a non-for-profit organization, about 100 employees, that we worked with them in terms of setting up the goals because they didn't track goals. And it was more whimsical in terms of like, hopefully we're doing our job, because they didn't understand that even though the mission is most important when it comes to non-for-profits, that they didn't understand that there was a business component to the business, to the non-for-profit organization, so that they can keep afloat. And so what they did was the supervisors now created simple goals for the staff members to understand there's a business component even though they're trying to achieve a mission. And now they're doing weekly and bi-weekly check-ins with their staff members because there are reminders that could be set in the system that the employees would be doing a check-in to see where they stand in terms of their goals and change where they stand in terms of the weighted average. So for example, if I didn't really interview 10 candidates on a personal goal, I can drop that down to say 70%. What the added value is, you can see what it made in terms of the change in terms of the weighted goal for the personal, but that gets cascaded up to department goals and company goals. From an executive level, from an HR administrative level, a person that's reviewing how the company's doing in terms of the health score of the company, they're able to dive in deeper to see who has gaps in terms of departments and who needs some coaching in terms of the personnel. So tying that into the goals, a lot of companies are using not only the goals, but also doing the reviews. And reviews, a lot of companies I'm very surprised by, and Colin and I have been surprised by this, is that a lot of them are doing in Excel, different formats for different departments. There's no way of capturing the full goals. It's more subjective than objective in terms of paying out bonuses. The value to us is we're taking people's performance reviews that they use today and incorporating it in terms of a streamlined technology approach whereby you can ask open-ended questions, star rating questions, scalable questions. And then the key value is you could send it at any frequency in terms of period, in terms of when I'm going to select the individuals that are going to be sent out those performance reviews, and then share the evaluation form on a specific given date, and give a date that has to be attended to from the employee's perspective.
Yeah, and this is kind of the great period where it kind of eliminates the administrative need. So you can see the frequency. This can be a recurring event. So I mean, if you're looking to just do annual reviews, and maybe you're thinking about quarterly, but I obviously know that's a daunting task. This is going to be 4 times the amount of administrative work. You're able to just kind of easily set it up to be a recurring and then repeat it every quarter. So it definitely takes a lot of that legwork away. And the best part is you're not only able to kind of get that maybe individual feedback and the manager feedback, it allows for a 360 review if that's kind of where you're looking to progress right now. So you'd be able to kind of see of 6 people that reviewed Ryan, right now you get the average, of a 4.17. And you're kind of able to get this whole summation of everybody who reviewed this individual. And then if you're interested in seeing individually what Abigail may have rated him, it also breaks it out individually. And kind of another great feature compared to some other ones is that you're able to kind of see how did he progress since the last review. Because ultimately we're trying to improve our employees' performance quarter after quarter. So you're able to kind of see how they're progressing each quarter and then compare against each other. So that's kind of also another great feature that's available in this actual kind of performance review feature. And it's not even just directly kind of comparing against the individual. You're also kind of able to get general analytics. So, I mean, if everybody was kind of given the same set of questions like many annual reviews are, you're able to kind of see who's at the top and then who's kind of at the bottom for each individual question. So this kind of helps HR individuals like us see who maybe needs to be coached up, who can be kind of isolated that they need to maybe improve. Because ultimately we never kind of want to outplace individuals because it's a lot more expensive to be replacing, training, than it is to be coaching up individuals. And on the same front, you can see who's really excelling in the company. And that's when you can kind of see, maybe Beth has been at the top of her class every single time. And you're able to go into her profile and kind of where we talked about before, where maybe there isn't necessarily a budget for performance-based raises, you're able to look at, what trainings they'd like to do, what conferences they'd like to take in forms of an actual kind of performance bonus. Because ultimately they're looking to learn, even if they kind of are already at the top.
Yeah, and when I look at it again, folks, there are different components or value adds that can be achieved. So we've already discussed communications, getting to know one's employees, giving some sort of recognition so people feel appreciated. But this is really more of what we just talked about in terms of goals and performance. It's really tying into the ROI when it comes to running the business successfully. Because if you can align people's goals and make them understand their job duties, then they'll achieve the goals and aspirations that the company has in terms of growing the revenues and hopefully becoming the next Googles or Facebooks of the world. The other key value is people really want to know how they are performing. And that's where I think the performance tools we excel in, because it's more of a streamlined approach and it's less whimsical than what we've seen for a lot of companies, both public and private, use today. And then the final thing that I would talk about, those final 2 aspects, is surveys and reports, Colin. And when it comes to surveys, it's the same idea, folks, in terms of performance reviews, whereby you're able to open it up in terms of drop-down questions, star rating questions, scalable questions. You have a bank of questions that do things such as the tiny polls to that of, just getting a health score of the company. What I find of value, folks, is really the analytics around the tool. So, for example, the 2019 Employee Engagement Survey that was completed, you're able to see analytics around the company and seeing, based on departments and based on locations, what people really thought within the company. And again, what the value that we bring to the table, yes, we bring the technology piece, but we're also going to bring the best practices of what we're seeing with other companies in terms of the types of questions they've solicited information from their employees. And these surveys can be conducted anonymously because a lot of clients ask us that. What's the value is that it's going to be anonymous, but it's going to give you analytics about, what people really think within the organization. And you can pull this up at town hall meetings or quarterly calls that you have with your staff about how you are progressing in terms of the overall culture of the company.
And really some of the things that we see a lot with clients is that they say they're not getting great survey response percentages, kind of because they say that the employees don't really want to be entering that demographic information. That's really vital to kind of get a pulse on the company, because it's important to know, is this an issue that's isolated to a certain location or a certain department, or is this kind of an organizational-wide problem? Or, what you're doing great. And kind of in the system, nobody has to enter in any demographic information because it's already linked to their profile in the system. So they already are entering in, and we're already collecting that data about what department they're in, what location they're in, without them having to actively put that in. And maybe that's the point where they're saying, you know what, maybe I don't want to take this survey because I don't necessarily want it coming back to me. And that's kind of where it's always great to get that feedback and kind of see, you know, how can we improve? Because ultimately by somebody saying, you know, I don't want to fill this out, I mean, it's hurting the company in total because you're not going to be able to take any action on any response that they give unless you kind of know that feedback yourself.
Yeah, and to go one step further, Colin, what we've even been including in a lot of the discussions we're having with clients is, you know, I've seen this with tech companies. I even saw this with University of Delaware and other universities that we're working with, we're coaching them on, is that they realize that they should have surveys in terms of, you know, when you onboard an employee. Give a 30-day survey, see how the onboarding experience has been. How was, you know, even in exit interviews, they're able to use this as a tool in order for them to understand what they could have improved so that the exit's done successfully in terms of a bad hire or someone that just doesn't fit within the culture, but then get that feedback so that they can make sure that those issues don't arise again.
And these are kind of the surveys that some people don't necessarily think about or may not have the capacity to be able to kind of implement these type of surveys. But we meet with all of our clients to see every month, you know, what's been going well with the platform, maybe where can we improve, and kind of tailor the system to really fit whatever your needs are. Because ultimately we want to make sure that you're getting the value and that it's, you know, beneficial for you to be using the platform. So we can kind of coach up best practices, maybe sometimes change the line of questioning if, you know, the questioning that you had kind of come up with isn't as effective, and then kind of go from there to kind of see what's working. And this is kind of not just isolated to the surveys, but across the entire platform, that we're kind of with you, and we can kind of be coaching, kind of going along with you, because it's not just kind of giving you the platform and letting you go around and play with it. And then, you know, the next time we speak to you is, you know, next time it's time to renew. This is a constant, you know, relationship. We're meeting all the time. And, you know, we always want to be in front of the customer, in front of the clients to see what we can do for them.
So the way I would consider us is we're an extension of your HR department, folks, because we're really trying to improve your job. We're looking to make your job easier, and we're also looking to impact the various departments within your company, ranging from that of the finance department to the way, you know, people feel about their jobs. Then the final thing that I would always talk about is the reports, folks. You know, again, you want to know analytics around your employees. You want to know where you need to grow, where there have been retention problems or turnover problems, and how long people have been tenured, and, you know, how many people have given some sort of acknowledgement in terms of high fives, and who's given those high fives. And again, you know, these are customizable reports that if there's not a specific report that's found here, we can work with our client service team to create those type of reports.
Yeah, and there's some, you know, reports in here that some of us don't even think about sometimes, where, for example, employees at the same position for at least a year. You can see that, you know, for example, in this system, Debbie has been in the same position for 18 years. And maybe that's something that, you know, managers need to be having that conversation. You know, are you looking to improve? Are you happy in that position? Because you don't want to, you know, find somebody that's been overlooked for 5 years and kind of get a disgruntled employee that's looking to move up. This kind of always kind of gives you that opportunity to see problems, and maybe they're not problems, but kind of catch it before it becomes different things. So there's definitely a whole range of reports in the platform that kind of allow you to always keep on top of your employees, be able to have those conversations and have that information ready.
Yep. And then finally, I would just talk about how a transition onto HelloTeam is done. And I know some folks that are on the line have actually started the trial. What I would recommend, so that this way you can really get the user experience, folks, if you haven't, sign up for a trial. It's a 2-week trial period that you can reach out to myself or Colin so that we can walk you through the actual user experience for your specific incident, meaning your company or your organization, so that this way you can test it with other colleagues to see if it could help you build on that communication, build on the peer recognition, build in terms of achieving goals and aligning performance so that this way you can get the most out of your employees, and really conduct surveys more impactfully so that this way you can learn from our team in terms of best practices around getting the most out of your staff. So to give you an understanding what data is required if you're an ADP user, obviously we have a single sign-on, we're a preferred partner of ADP, but this gives you some sense of the information that's required to set up an employee within the organization as well. So final thoughts, Colin, in regards to what you've seen from a client services perspective.
Yeah, I think really some of us, may be using 3 or 4 different platforms to kind of achieve some of this. And really kind of the biggest opportunity is that to really build engagement and to keep people always together, you're going to want that on one platform. And you can't be expecting users to have 4 different logins, nowhere to go for each individual thing, whether it's an org chart in one, performance in another, maybe their newsletter in another. This kind of gives you the opportunity to have everybody know where to go for all of their HR engagement related information. And that's where you really get the high survey response rate. That's where you can kind of really see people utilizing this peer-to-peer recognition. And you're going to be suddenly realizing that you're fostering a culture that's really based on recognition. And that's where you're going to have people be willing to stay on. You're going to build your retention, and people are going to be really happy to be working where you are. And even, a lot of people, you may already have great cultures. So, maybe you're thinking, oh, we don't really need a system yet. It's just as important to kind of stay ahead. You don't necessarily always want to be playing catch up. Sometimes it's best to get out ahead of things and kind of be building that culture out so that people kind of stay happy and stay engaged in the workforce.
Yeah, so the final thing that I would leave as an afterthought, folks, again, as I mentioned before, I wanted to provide my contact information. If people have questions or even feedback or comments or suggestions, because as Colin mentioned, we're always improving our platform. We take the feedback that we get from our clients and incorporate it into future releases, and that's why we do a monthly touch base with all our clients, so that this way we're not only keeping engaged with them, but become a partner to them as an organization. And so that this way we can drive engagement, employee engagement, that is. And I'd love to hear from folks online in terms of feedback, thoughts. What can we do in terms of even improving a demo today, so that this way you can get the most out of tools that we provide here at HelloTeam. The final thing that I would like to also commend Colin in terms of partaking in this demo, and I like to give him my own high five, which he'll get after this meeting. So I appreciate the time that folks have given it to us in terms of this discussion today, and I look forward to seeing if we can make an added value to your organization and most importantly to the employees that you serve.